This is Alicia Barber, and this video accompanies my Substack post, Renderings versus Reality, which discusses architectural renderings and how to evaluate them. Here I'll be talking about the 34-unit apartment building to be constructed at 700 Riverside Drive, in the middle of the Pounding Conservation District. The area in pink is the project's footprint. The site is just east of the Hub Riverside and Beaujolais Bistro. This view looks west along Riverside Drive, with Lunsford Park and Washington Street on the right. This rendering shows the building's south side, facing the river. The perspective is from a point around 15 feet from the ground. What you can't tell is that the building extends completely over Washington Street with no separation between it and Lunsford Park on the right. This view is at ground level, but from somewhere in the middle of the Truckee River, an impossible vantage point that minimizes the height and massing of the building with that distance. The setting used to create this view, looking west through Lunsford Park, stretches the foreground to make the three-story building look much farther away than it actually will be. Here's a photograph of that same view. The building will rise 3 stories high from the western edge of the park, completely blocking the view of everything behind it from this vantage point. This is a photograph of the north side of the site, looking across Jones Street toward the river. It's a 2-lane street with parking spaces and sidewalks on each side. This rendering of the building makes Jones Street look much wider, and the building very small and distant. And the building's ground floor is completely obscured by trees and shadows. An examination of the drawings shows that the wall actually features large grates that ventilate the ground floor parking garage. This wall is more than 130 feet long with a trash area at the far left. When you compare the rendering of the north side to the architectural elevation, you can see the huge difference in the perception at the street level it creates, and it becomes clear that the side facing the neighborhood is the back side of the building. What the plans also show and the renderings don't is that the entire building is being constructed from 3 to 4 feet above street level to keep it out of the flood zone. The stairway depicted here has concrete steps that rise more than 4 feet above street level to get you to the actual first floor. So when you look at the rendering again, what you see below those grates is a 3 to 4 foot wall that runs along the entire length of the building, with the base of the parking garage starting above that wall. The rendering of the north side doesn't include any people for scale, so I've added them here, with the tallest member around 6 feet tall. I put the identical silhouette on one of the balconies, and it's not an optical illusion. They're the exact same size, which shows you how dwarfed pedestrians will be by the scale of what's happening at street level. This is that family a bit closer up. And this is a photo of that side of the street as it exists today. The original plans indicated that this entire row of trees would be removed, which must still be likely. You have to imagine that 3 to 4 foot wall running all along here, with the 3-story facade of the building starting on top of that. The rendering that would really show how the neighborhood would be transformed doesn't exist, but it would be this view, looking south along Washington Street, which will now dead end at Jones with this building. I can only create a rough mock-up here because you really need a rendering to properly illustrate the correct height and width of that building and how it will look in this space. That's what we look to renderings to do. In showing none of the surrounding houses or providing any perspectives that show the apartment building's entire full width and height in the context of the neighborhood, not to mention the true appearance of that raised foundation, these renderings ultimately fail to provide an accurate sense of what the project's actual impact will be. This project required no public reviews, so the developer is under no technical obligation to represent that impact accurately, but I think not doing so does a real disservice to the community, not just to the surrounding neighbors, but everyone who cares about this special, walkable historic district.